Hey everybody, welcome to Q&A number 10. This will probably be the last one for this calendar year 2017. And hope to get at least one more trail talk out here before the end of the year. And if everything goes as planned, we'll see how that works. Anyway, let's get started here. Ed Millington asks, in addressing your pace, you mentioned heart medication that you're taking to regulate your heart rate. Is that a statin or something else? No, the statins are more for the cholesterol. I'm on a beta blocker, and that acts as a governor on an engine. It about the most heart rate I was ever able to actually, detect by checking for the pulse with the clock was about 135 beats a minute, and it just wouldn't let my heart go faster than that. So on some of those climbs, I just would have to, every now and then, just have to stop and let the oxygen levels catch up. Otherwise, I'd have a lot, end up stumbling a lot more because I just wouldn't be picking up my legs like I needed to be. So it became a reality. I didn't think it was going to be an issue while I was hiking, but it did, and I did some research and talked to my doctor, and they're like, oh yeah, it's definitely like a governor on an engine. So anyway, it's a beta blocker, as it's called. I'll see. Jerry A asks, if you could do it over again, would you do the approach trail to Springer? And also, if you didn't have to get off the trail and complete your through hike, would you have gotten to Katahdin before it got closed? Let's see. So, would I do the approach trail again? Absolutely not. Now, also, you got to remember, and the attitude a lot of people did was, hey, it's only 8.8 miles. What's the big deal? You're going to go hike 2,189. What's another 8.8? Well, because I live in Florida and far enough away from the elevation and just my work situation at the time, I didn't really get a chance to prep and get ready for the trail. So for me, it was the philosophy of, the trail will get me in shape. So I planned everything to be a lot, shorter miles for quite a while. To be able to give my body an opportunity to build up to that. The approach trail is so strenuous, and I only did the 7.7 of it because they parked us up at the top of the falls. So I didn't even do those, 802 steps or 602 steps. Otherwise it would have been worse, but I was so exhausted and so discouraged, and the snow came in. And that next morning when I had to go down to get water, 0.3 down and 0.3 back up, and I was slipping and sliding, I got back up and I was so exhausted and I couldn't hardly get a breath of air. I was so discouraged I was ready to turn and go back. It was my son that was with me at the time. Says, Dad, no, let's at least go to the top of Springer. Let's at least get up to the plaque. So I went up there, and it's like, well, we're here. We might as well walk down to the parking lot because it's too dangerous to go back down the approach trail with all the ice and the snow. And maybe we can get a ride back down there. By the time I got down to the parking lot, I was like, I don't think I'll keep going. So yeah, it about caused me to basically quit my hike. So for me, no, I wouldn't do the approach trail. Now, because of my surprise with my slower pace throughout almost all of the trail, there was no way I was going to make it Nobo to Katahdin before it closed. So I was very serious when I was at Luray. By the time I had to get off, my plan was to get to Harper's Ferry, kind of go into DC, and either get a bus or something and get up to Maine, and then at least start with the 100-mile wilderness, so I get the experience of hiking north, seeing Katahdin, make the climb, and then flip back down, and then hike south and take as long as I needed to get done. So that was the plan. So yes, I could have made Katahdin. Actually, I could have finished the whole through hike, but staying with a Nobo scenario, I don't think I would have made it. Said, how about a quick, Todd asks, hey, how about a quick gear review on your Therma-rest Neo Air X-Lite? And I think that's an excellent idea, and I will do a detailed gear review on that. But Todd does ask a couple questions that I think everybody could probably benefit from as a kind of a little highlight reel, if you will. Let's see, I'd be interested in hearing your take on it and how well it held up for you during your section hikes. Okay, well, I put on that one pad almost 1,400 miles on it, and it held up great. No delaminations. Yes, it does get dirty from your body, but it cleans up really well. Every now and then maybe of every third zero that I did, or at least to stay in a hotel where I was by myself, I would blow it up, get a wet wash rag with some warm soapy water on it, and clean it off really good, and then let it stay, keep it blowed up while it just would dry, and it would dry pretty quickly, and that helped kind of keep it clean. I did notice that because I would breathe blow it up, and so you do end up with stuff growing in there. At least it looked like there was some shadows and some stuff in there, but it didn't seem to affect the function of it to the point where over two seasons I used it. So did it have any slow leaks in it, or did you wake up with it being just as firm as when you blew it up the night before? I didn't have any issues with any leaks at all. Okay. Did you find that it contracted or expanded during the night due to the temperature fluctuations? And honestly, no, I don't remember having any issues with it. If maybe an occasion it might have, and just a quick breath or half breath would solve that, because, well, I'll get to a little more detail here. So did you find blowing it up each night a pain, and did the crinkly sound of the pad really bother you? And finally, do you use any extra protection for the bottom of your pad, or was a 10-4 sufficient? So I saw some people, and you see them because when you're in the shelter, more people have the Neo Airs. A lot of people actually blow them up all the way. Okay, and I was 250 pounds starting. By the time I got off at my lowest weight, I was 200. That's a lot. And I noticed if I blew the pad up all the way and tried to sleep on it, first of all, I thought it was going to explode because it was so full of air, and it made me feel like I was on the top of a ball, and it seemed like I would roll more easily different directions. And since I'm a side sleeper, I want it to contour a little bit. So I learned that I could do about 17 breaths, and that would fill the pad up about maybe halfway to 2/3 of the way. So it looks like it's not full at all, but yet when you lay down on it, especially with me on the side, it would suspend me up off the ground. And as long as my hip wasn't touching, that actually was the most comfortable. So I wasn't sleeping with it totally fully inflated, and that seemed to work real well for me. I think the floor of a tent would probably give it enough protection most of the time, unless you find yourself one of those on a goat head or something like that, and then it's definitely going to penetrate, and it's going to produce a leak. And it seems to me most people that have problems with their air mattresses having leaks and having to repair them, they would use them in the shelter without anything underneath them. I would definitely recommend a little piece of cryo, or I use my Tyvek ground cloth for my tent to be able to put into the shelter to be able to then put my pad down. I never had any punctures. So, and that was a recommendation I got from Brett, is to use some sort of a ground protection underneath your air mattress when you're in the shelters, especially. Okay. Gypsy Hiker asks, which trail book are you using? And that's from my Trail Talk videos, and I'm using it's called the AT Guide by David Miller. His nickname is AWOL. His trail name is AWOL. So a lot of people affectionately call it the AWOL Guide. You can get it on Amazon, but you can also go to the atguide.com, which is his website, and it might be also linked into antigravitygear.com. But anyway, you can buy it there too, and when you do that, he'll send you a really thick mill Ziploc bag for the book to go in, where you don't get that on Amazon, I don't believe. And what's also nice is you can order a couple more, and I would get like 1 or 2 more just to have them, and like, I don't know, 25 cents or something. They're not much. But there you can also get, what I use is the unbound version. So I have a bound version for my wife to use at home while I'm hiking, and I use the unbound version for me. That way I can take the sections that I want and then leave the rest of it at home in a Ziploc bag for her to send to me while I'm on the trail. So anyway, I highly recommend going directly to his website to buy them. You have some more options than are available to you on Amazon. Okay, Ren Ramsey says, when you stay at a hostel, what shuttle that shuttles you to town, do they have a shuttle that will bring you back at no charge? or do you have to call and pay for a ride if you want to go to back and forth to town for dinner and later for resupply? And that really is dependent upon the hostel itself. For example, top of Georgia, if you get off at I think it's Unicoi Gap, they'll come pick you up, and then they'll have a shuttle that'll take everybody into town for dinner and for resupply. It's a one-time shuttle. If you miss it, then you lose out. And it will take you back to the trail the next day. In Hiawassee, the Budget Inn, they have a shuttle they'll pick you up and then take you back up to the trail. But because they're in town, it's up to you to hike or walk to the grocery store or to a restaurant. Let's see, like Woods Hole Hostel in Virginia, you hike in, you hike out. There is no transportation, but it's half mile one way, half mile back. Let's see, the Harbor Mountain Hostel, once again, it's about a half mile from the trail. You can hike in, hike back out. If you wanted to pay them, they could maybe shuttle you to town, but it's an easy hitch. They even tell you, hey, just go out there and hitchhike. And so you can go into town, do a resupply, get some groceries. So yeah, I mean, it really kind of depends. I stayed at an inn there in Damascus, the Hiker Inn, and I walked to the grocery store. And then once I got back, Lee looked at me and said, "Why didn't you just ask me to take you? I would have taken you." So a lot of times too, you just ask. In Front Royal, the place I stayed there, what was that? The cabin. There it was dependent upon when you needed to go, and because he was also, the owner also had a job, and depending upon if he was in town doing some telecommuting or if he was actually having to be in DC, it kind of depended. And so like for us, he helped us get into town with a taxi, but then the taxi wouldn't come back to pick us up, but then he was home, and so then he came and got us, and he didn't charge us for that. So for the most part, they don't, the places don't charge. Uncle Johnny's, it's right on the trail, but if you want to come in off of one of the other gaps, like we did the first time, we called him up and he arranged a shuttle driver to come get us, and then he got a cut of that, or we could have made our own reservations with the shuttle driver. But he runs a bus into town for resupply and lunch, and then another bus into town for resupply and dinner, and that's all free. So a lot of that you'll see. A lot of that will be enumerated in the AWOL guide for that particular hostel. It'll let you know whether it's free pickup from the trail or not. Usually if they're advertising that, that's usually a pretty good sign. Sometimes it's just asking. The little hotel, not in Vernon, the one not the Appalachian Hotel, the one I stayed in before that. It didn't really talk about picking you up from the trail. But when I called to make the reservation, I just asked. And she said, yeah, I'll come down to get you. And so she came down and picked us up. And the same thing with the Appalachian Hotel there in Vernon, New Jersey. Not really, I can't remember if it was in the AWOL guide for Vernon or not, but it was one of those, you just ask. And matter of fact, the next day in the hotel before the Vernon, I needed to resupply. And so instead of asking her to take me to the trail, I said, hey, would you just take me down to the grocery store and I'll find my way back to the trail, which was easy to do because once you're at the grocery store, you just kind of hang out front with your pack, and eventually somebody's going to say, hey, what you doing? You hiking? And you say yes, and you ask them which way they're going, and if they're going back the way you need to go, you just ask them for a ride, and it's amazing. People are really nice. They'll support that. So, all right, and then Lee Miller, last question here of the day is. So looking back on your video entitled Christmas Gifts for the Thru Hiker, I have a question on how you think combining freezer back cooking with a pot cozy would work. I like the idea of freezer back cooking and keeping my pot clean. What's interesting is in 2016, I didn't really cook in my pot. I would heat the water up with the food in it, and then I had a pot cozy that I rehydrated in, and then of course ate out of the pot. And I really got tired of cleaning it. I think sometimes some of the illness that I got was probably because of not getting that totally clean like I needed to. And I saw a lot of people that wouldn't ever clean their pot. It was pretty nasty. So that's why I went to the freezer back cooking with the envelope. But honestly, and I saw Amanda, oh shoot, brain stall. She's a thru hiker. She's in 2018. She's doing videos. Amanda Bass, maybe. That's what she's planning on doing, is just doing the freezer bag cooking, but using her pot cozy. And in a way, that gives you an extra option. So if you really figure, if you ran out of, like for example, if I ran out of a freezer bag, I would be out of luck with my system. But if you're using a pot cozy and you run out of freezer bags, you can always still just, eat out of the pot and use the cozy to rehydrate your food. So yeah, I see no problem with that at all, Lee. All right. Okay, everybody. If you have anything for next time, leave the comments in the section below. If you can comment on any other videos that I'm doing, and I will do my best to get that out to you. So, all right, everybody. Have a great rest of the new year, and we'll see you next year. Bye-bye.